Who is the Fed? That's the question, Ian. Who is the Fed? It's not Yellen by herself, and it's not the governors by themselves. Who owns it? Because at the end of the day, the objectives of any organization or entity are the owners. So regardless of who they nominate to be the figureheads to be in the press, we can't take the spotlight off of who owns the Fed. The Fed is a private institution owned by the commercial banks. The commercial banks own the Fed. The Fed does as the commercial bank overlords and overseers want to happen. So I don't care if it's Yellen or Greenspan or Powell or who's up there. Hey everybody, this is Rob Keen from Gold Silver Pros, joined by special guest 𝙎𝙊𝙇𝙑𝙀𝙁 of Ark Silver to talk silver and also to talk about something that Joe Biden recently said, which I think you guys may find interesting. Ian, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks, Rob. And yourself?
Not too bad. It's moving week for me, so it's been a lot of back and forth between apartments, but I'm actually enjoying it. I feel like as I go on in life, I realize I need less stuff. So I'm just like jettisoning all the stuff I don't need and coming to a more simpler life. And I think I'm probably more happy now than I've been in a long time. So it's a good, it's moving and it's stress, but it's good stress. It's positive stress.
And some exercise.
And some exercise, yes, which I could definitely use. I've gotten a little round over the years. So
I wasn't commenting.
So you were telling me about, was it a recent speech that President Biden did or something like that?
Yeah.
Enlighten us as to what the head cartoon character in charge of the U.S. government has said.
Well, he's supposed to be in charge, but I think we all know he's not in charge. And probably the last president that was in charge was Kennedy just before he got shot. So then he wasn't in charge. So I don't think the presidents are in charge. So
no, I don't think
for whatever color our listeners, viewers are, I would ridicule Trump just as much, and given the chance to, I will. So I actually asked my wife to transcript it because I saw it, and it was a surreal moment, almost like it's really hard to explain, but it's part of the conditioning, I think, just to keep adding craziness onto craziness and just trying to confuse and divert. I'll read out the transcript and then I can make a few amendments to it, if that works for you, Rob. So this is word for word, and I trust that this was transcribed correctly. Here we go. I'm meeting with the chairman today and Secretary Yellen to discuss my top priority, that is address the inflation in order to transition from historic recovery, cough, to a steady growth that works for American families, excuse me, cough. And my plan is to address inflation. It starts with a simple proposition: respect the Fed, respect the Fed's independence, which I have done and will continue to do.
Sorry, I can't keep a straight face. Keep going.
My job as president is not only nominate highly qualified individuals for that institution. Interestingly, Jerome Powell is a lawyer, so I guess that makes him highly qualified to lie, cheat, and deceive. Excuse me for any honest lawyers out there, I'm sure there are. But to give the space they need to do their job. I'm not going to interfere with their critically important work. The Fed has two responsibilities: one, full employment; two, stable prices. I think I'm just going to pause there because that's a fail and a fail. If those are their two official responsibilities, they're blatantly, pretty well since 1923, when they really started messing with the American economy, they have failed completely on providing stable full employment and failed completely in making the dollar a store of value. So that's a complete 100% fail on both of those counts. So he carries on. Sheriff Paul, and I presume he means Jerome Powell, who is sitting across 10 feet away from him. Sheriff Paul and other leaders of the Fed have noted at this moment they have a laser focus on addressing inflation. Does he know what a laser is? A laser is generally an incredibly accurate tool for measuring or cutting and many other processes. But yeah, laser focus on addressing inflation, just like I am. Okay, so Joe Biden is laser focused. And with a larger complement of board members now confirmed, I know we'll use those tools and monetary policy to address the rising prices for the American people. So I look forward to Chairman Powell's continuing leadership at the Fed, and I look forward to the Senate considering my final nominee to the board, Michael Barr, in the near future. And that's why we're meeting, folks, and thank you for coming in. And then immediately after that, all the press were told to get out of the room quick. They were shouting for
questions. Yeah, no, you don't ask him a question that's not on that he can't answer from the teleprompter, right?
And it wouldn't matter because any of those press.
We're addressing inflation. I hired qualified people, and we have a laser focus. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Yeah. So going back to, well, that's our president's plan. Well, what did he say? Respect the Fed. Who is the Fed? And okay, yeah, we're repeating stuff again, but it's privately owned organization.
Who is the Fed? That's the question, Ian. Who is the Fed? It's not Yellen by herself, and it's not the governors by themselves. Who owns it? Because at the end of the day, the objectives of any organization are the owners. So regardless of who they nominate to be the figureheads to be in the press, we can't take the spotlight off of who owns the Fed. The Fed is a private institution owned by the commercial banks. The commercial banks own the Fed. The Fed does as the commercial bank overlords and overseers want to happen. So I don't care if it's Yellen or Greenspan or Powell or who's up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And again, what's their track record? Well, it's pretty well abysmal. I mean, probably if we could actually see the figures, their track record is they've done a very good job of enriching the owners of the Fed, successive chairmen. Their policies, obviously they know well in advance what their policies are going to be, so they front run all those decisions. They're at the feeding trough of the freshly created dollars, while they still have some value. The counterlung effect, that the people nearest the source of the money creation benefit. And the further away you are from the time it gets to you, it's been debased. So that's their track record. They've been incredibly good at their job. And I think it's time the American people wake up and realise it's a lie. They're not federal, they have no reserves, and they're not a bank.
Yeah, and 𝙂𝙊𝙇𝘍 had something interesting to say this week in an interview with the Epoch Times. And here's a quote. She was the one, she's a senior fellow at the Independent Institute, and was a nominee, I think, back in Trump's administration for the Fed. And she says, if the central bank's track record is anything to go by, the Fed is not omniscient, says 𝙂𝙊𝙇. I think it's hard to say what will be the impact and what will be the timing of the impact of ratcheting up interest rates to the point where they choke off real economic activity. There's a big difference in saying money that comes from speculating on money that can generate income versus GDP growth that reflects an increased level of goods and services. In other words, the GDP grew because they were pumping money into the system, and the stock market grew because they're pumping money into the system, and now they're taking away the punch bowl, and she's saying, essentially all it's going to do is break the system that they created. They created the system, you pulled away the funding, now the system crashes. None of this was generated by positive manufacturing in the U.S. or positive growth in output. I mean, there was positive GDP growth. Most of this is the money printing, which led to the moral hazard of too much debt, spending on things that we didn't need, and those types of things. And now we're all in trouble, right?
Yeah.
That's 𝙂𝙊𝙇, who's a pretty intelligent woman, calling the Fed out on their BS, essentially.
Yeah, and I presume she didn't get elected because she was a sound money proponent. It's a crazy idea that this is money and everything else is debt. So there's probably no chance that she was going to get that position.
And it's funny that the commercial banks that ultimately own the Fed, including Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, are now saying that we're going to have a major economic crisis. Jamie Dimon is saying, or Dimon, I should call him Demon.
I think Demon's close.
That was a Freudian slip, but maybe it was my subconscious, trying to correctly label it. he said there's a hurricane coming, and now the Goldman president is saying the same thing, Goldman Sachs president. So the banks are coming out and saying we're going to have major economic issues. Well, I wonder if, if people will put two and two together, because now they're warning about the economic issues to condition us on what's going to happen, because they own the Fed, and what did the Fed just do? Tighten monetary policy that's going to cause the crash.
Exactly.
It's disingenuous for them to say we couldn't have seen this coming because they own the Fed, and therefore they are the ones that run it, essentially. Again, I don't care who you appoint to the Fed board. It's owned. The shareholders are going to determine what the Fed ultimately does. Because in a private organization, that's who runs it. Okay? It's no different, Ian, than if you and I start a business and we own all the shares of the business. We run the business. It doesn't matter who we hire as CEO. We tell the CEO what to do. Okay? So the commercial bankers are the ones that were in favor of this tightening policy, and now they're coming out and saying, oh, here comes the economic storm. Yeah, you created the storm. And the only question left is, why now? Why did you create the conditions for the storm that we're in by running this loose monetary policy and not letting the system correct itself and get rid of all the bad debt and all the bad stuff that we had, misallocation of capital? And now they're pulling away the punch bowl and trying to, and they're telling people, they're not telling people, we as owners of the Fed, they're standing, behind their, behind the screen, pretending not to know that they're the ones that created the bubble, and saying, oh, we work for these commercial banks and we have all these, departments to study the economy. And it's, just come to us all of a sudden, ooh, we're going to have this economic storm. No, you caused the damn storm.
Yeah.
Because you run the Fed.
Yeah.
Right? Am I wrong in any of that?
I think you are wrong when you call them disingenuous. They are liars. Disingenuous is a polite political term that you're allowed to use against a political opponent without getting sued. So okay, Jerome Powell, Janet Yellen, sue me. You are liars. You lie.
And the Fed vice chair pours water on a pause, and she was in CNBC News today. And I forget her name. I don't really care. She's forgettable, like most of the central bankers. But the vice chair was saying, yeah, we're not going to stop the policy of raising rates. Why? Because their overlords who own it, the commercial banks, don't want them to. Ian, for just a minute or two left that we have left in the program, could you speculate on why you think the commercial banks now are pulling away the punch bowl? Why did they choose now? What could be their objective?
Well, the level of fear has been built up with the relentless COVID, and then they're trying to throw monkeypox. We've got the war, in the tragic situation in the Ukraine. Then we've got other factors happening. We've got drought. We've got crop failures. So it's a convenient time to just add a little bit more stress to a system that was going to collapse anyway, because it was created to collapse. And you look at the history of the Fed, they create cycles. The whole proposition when they were founded was that we would have no more recessions or depressions. They would smooth out the economic cycle. That was the whole agreement, basically, or the lie that they told. But what they do, they exaggerate these ups and downs because they pick up the pieces at the bottom, they pick up the pieces at the top, and they skim off the real wealth continually.
Wasn't it the Fed members that were trading stocks while they're pumping money into the economy?
Yeah.
And they just recently stopped. Why did they stop? Because they knew they were going to reverse policy and sell out everybody in the system.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Isn't that essentially what happened?
Absolutely. And yeah, completely. So, yeah, I guess the real discussion is make the Fed irrelevant. And I completely agree with Ron Paul. That was the last statement I heard him say about the Fed, a live speech. Make the Fed irrelevant. And that's the question. Well, okay, how do we, one by one, individuals by individuals, families by families, regions by regions, how do we make them relevant? And a lot of the states are positioning themselves. Texas with bullion, Idaho are now going to use it as part of their strategic reserves. And I think the pension funds are going to have to, because if they don't get out the bonds now, who's going to pay the pensions? So
yeah, that's all gone, and that could be another segment. Real quick before we end up this one, Ian, we're almost at the 15-minute mark. Talk about Ark Silver and what you do for people in terms of if they're interested in getting into precious metals. They see the train wreck coming with the Fed. They know they're running out of time. They know the stock and bond markets are not the place to be. Crypto right now, at this moment, the crypto complex is not performing as a safe haven. Just look at the charts. So people are going to go to precious metals, right? They're not going to go to cash with high inflation. They're going to go to precious metals. So tell people how you can help them if they're interested in getting into safety and into real money. How can they do that with Ark Silver?
Yeah, we offer the full basic range from 1 ounce coins to 1,000 ounce bars in silver, 1 ounce bars and coins in gold, platinum, kilo bars in gold. And we try to be the best price in the whole of the US. So it's a simple proposition. I believe fundamentally that gold and silver are primary wealth. And as everything starts to collapse, the digital illusions of wealth, it folds in on itself. And some of that wealth migrates and manages to find primary wealth. We can't all buy farmland and houses and factories and forests, but we can buy silver.
Yeah, I agree with you. And so if people want to find Ark Silver, there's an easy way. If you follow the channel, you can go to our website, goldsilverpros.com, like I have up here on the screen. Very simple website. We redesigned it to make everything easy for you guys to navigate. You just click on Precious Metals Deals. Ian is our only trusted vendor. I'll say this one more time. After all of these years, we've settled on Ark Silver as our only trusted vendor. I would say along with Silverback, even though they're a wholesaler. We settled on that for a reason because we've seen our customers very happy with Ian and his service. And I've met Ian 7 times and broken bread with him, and I believe what he says, and I believe he has a good service. So if you click on Get Access, there's a form. You simply fill out the form. Please include both your email and phone number. Ian's probably not going to call you, but he may text you if for some reason he can't get a hold of you using email. And also remember to whitelist his email address so that you are getting his return email, invest@arksilver.com. And other ways to reach you that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, just invest@arksilver.com is the website. Yeah, there is no high pressure sales. I get plenty of sales to keep me busy. My main priority is to make sure people buy the most suitable product at the lowest premium. So when we do get we find the real value of gold and silver, you've got more ounces and not more premium, because the premiums will not get multiplied, but your ounces will.
So Ian, give us one special deal on silver and one special deal on gold that you have right now.
Yeah, we've got still running the special on the Kennedy halves. I think these are great. 7 of them are just over an ounce of silver. I've had to put the premium up, but it's $1.49, which is still incredibly cheap. On the other end of the scale, on the silver, we did 1,000 ounce bars, and that's varying just day to day, hour to hour, from 99 to 149. Literally, wholesalers sell out, and they have to restock, and their restocking costs change all the time.
So you just said something important. Wholesalers are selling out of 1,000 ounce bars.
Yeah.
So the 1,000 ounce bar is not so readily available as people think.
No, basically.
So if people are talking about shortages, if you can't always constantly get 1,000 ounce bars, there's more demand than supply.
Yeah.
We're not in a short situation where we can't get it, but doesn't that say that we're tighter than we have been, say, in the last couple of years?
Exactly, and I think the system tries to throttle the retail demand by the premiums rising excessively. And so that's why I'm working with Silverback. Jim makes these amazing slices. Each one is individual. It's stamped from the bar number it comes. So there's provenance to prove the refiner and the purity. So those are probably the lowest premium in a bar form now that we can do.
And so Jim has organized Citizens for Sound Money, former NASA guy and military guy, very honest guy. We both met him in person. He gets 1,000 ounce bars, has the tools in his office to basically cut up, 10 ounce, 25 ounce slices. You're helping him by moving those to retail customers. So if they want to get what Jim is putting out, slices of these 1,000-ounce bars from the COMEX, they can simply come to Ark Silver or go to our form on our website, inquire about those, and you'll get hooked up.
And we're excited. There's new product coming shortly. We've got 10-ounce bars. So if there's anybody corporate watching and you would like your own 10-ounce bar, it is affordable now to get a die made and get them produced. We are retailing those below the price of like a standard bar.
So completely customizable, can get your logo on it just like a business card.
Yeah.
All right, we'll come back. We've got more on the actual shiny stuff. We're going to talk about more on this in a couple of breakout videos that's going to go elsewhere on social media. So if you guys are interested in what Ark Silver can do for you and what Silverback can do in terms of the branding, stay tuned to our social media. Right after this video, you'll see us talk specifically about that in some additional segments. We wanted to break that out and really focus on that for those of you who are staffers and really love that. So Ian, thank you so much for joining the program. I appreciate it. And everybody stay tuned. We'll have more from Ian.
Thank you, Rob.